And now let's take you live to Yashobhoomi to Semicon India 2025, which is being held in New Delhi, and where Prime Minister right now is visiting the exhibition exhibited by at least 350 exhibitors. These are the live visuals coming in from Semicon exhibition, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is making a visit. Semicon 2025 is the fourth edition. It's a landmark event for India's push towards becoming a global hub in semiconductors, manufacturing and innovation as well, a sector that is set to define the future of technology and economic growth. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the exhibition and talking and understanding the exhibitors right now. A Semicon exhibition, a global platform that is showcasing the latest innovations in the semiconductor industry. This exhibition is particularly significant as India is positioning itself to emerge as a key player in the global chip-making ecosystem as well. And with the world facing chip shortages in recent years, India's push in this sector is not just about technology, but also about self-reliance, economic growth, and creating lakhs of jobs and creating Atmanirbhar Bharat, which Prime Minister yesterday, while inaugurating Semicon, mentioned very vividly. Semicon 2025 underlines the government's commitment to make India a hub or semiconductor design, form and manufacturing, and the exhibition brings together top global companies, policymakers and innovators, all looking at India's potential as a rising semiconductor powerhouse. Prime Minister Narendra Modi up on your screens visiting the Semicon India 2025 exhibition showcases India's strides in semiconductor manufacturing, innovation and technology leadership. Semicon 2025 highlights India's vision of becoming a global hub for electronics and chip design under the Make in India and Digital India initiatives particularly. The flagship event reaffirms India's ambition to become a global semiconductor powerhouse, and yesterday Prime Minister inaugurated the fourth edition of Semicon India 2025 at Yashobhoomi in New Delhi. Semicon India 2025 has brought together global leaders, industry experts, academia, government officials and students under the theme Building the Next Semiconductor Powerhouse, bringing unprecedented exponential growth. Semicon 2025 is also graced by over 20,000 attendees, comprising more than 2,500 delegates from 48 countries. Semicon 2025 will also feature diverse activities, including roundtable discussions with 6 countries, country-specific pavilions, specialized pavilions for workforce development and startups. And it will highlight initiatives under the Design-Linked Incentive Scheme, spotlight the thriving startup ecosystem, fostering international cooperation and outlining the future roadmap for India's semiconductor industry. Prime Minister yesterday, in fact, in his inaugural address at Semicon 2025, mentioned that the combination of experts and youth at the gathering was a clear message to the world that the world believes in India. And for more on Semicon 2025 and Prime Minister visiting the exhibition right now, we have our correspondent with us, Akshay Dongre. Well, Akshay, tell us the main important features of the exhibition Prime Minister is visiting right now?
Well, one of the most important thing is the kind of focus that Prime Minister is giving to the semicon industry. Semiconductors, as we have been talking about for several years now, and in fact, the entire decade has been more or less about chips, semiconductors, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, other kind of advanced manufacturing techniques that are required for semiconductors, and semiconductors are required for all these kind of activities when it comes to cutting edge technology in today's digital infrastructure. So Prime Minister's focus is quite apt on the semiconductor industry. Yesterday he visited Yashobhumi, where he interacted with the industry leaders. And in fact, something that was quite different yesterday was the fact that Deepika, Prime Minister came even before the dignitaries. He sat there, he listened to the the national as well as international semiconductor players. He interacted with them. He during his speech he responded to the things that were said by the investors, by the business leaders in the semicon industry. So Prime Minister has publicly many times stated that he has always had keen interest in technology, and when it comes to semiconductors, these are essentially the building blocks of today's digital infrastructure. So it becomes quite essential for any nation to have a robust, any nation like India or any major economy in the world, they need to have some sort of reliant, supply chain for semiconductors. We have seen that because of disruption, because of conflict, this particular supply chain of semiconductors has been disturbed, which has caused a lot of financial pressure on economies, on industries, and that is something that India, as one of the world's fastest growing economies, cannot pay a price, cannot afford as far as these kind of disruptions are concerned. So clearly, Prime Minister's focus is to invite the world's leading semiconductor industries to India, to set up manufacturing plants, to do research and development, to do all kind of things that are required by providing everything that they require. Prime Minister has repeatedly said yesterday that anything that is required by the semicon industry will be provided. That includes the political support by the local government to rules and regulation and reduction of paperwork that is being done through various initiatives that have been launched by the government of India. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi is viewing the exhibition today. This is the second consecutive day, and reminding our viewers that just day before yesterday, Prime Minister was in China, so he just landed in India. The next day, he came here at Yashobhumi to give a speech to the industry leaders of semiconductor industry, and now today he's visiting the stalls personally and interacting with these semicon leaders here who are present at Yashobhumi. Back to you, Deepika.
Right, Akshay, in fact, we are showing live visuals to our viewers right now coming in from the Semicon exhibition. Prime Minister is visiting the exhibition, and we're getting you the shots from there. In fact, Akshay, so many dignitaries with 20,000 attendees and 2,500 delegates from 48 countries attending the Semicon 2025. In fact, if we talk about the exhibitors, it's being said that there are over 350 exhibitors at Semicon 2025, and Prime Minister himself inaugurated it every year. So tell us the significance and most importantly, the importance of Semicon 2025 for India's technological roadmap.
Well, we are, it can be explained in a manner that we are at a cusp of digital transformation. However, this digital transformation cannot happen. It's just not possible without the cutting-edge semiconductors that are made around the world. We have seen that just exactly a year back, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Singapore. He visited a semiconductor factory. He visited the AEM Holdings in Singapore, where Prime Minister, along with the Prime Minister of Singapore, visited. There he saw the infrastructure in the countries that are leading players in semicon industry, including Taiwan, including Singapore. There is China and other countries as well that have taken lead in the semicon industry. And PM acknowledged that to course correct, the first thing is to accept any kind of lapses. And PM said that India has taken off in this journey, taken off in this race of semiconductor slightly late, but with the concerted efforts of all the people in the government as well as, in the industry leaders along with the entire ecosystem will push the semicon industry to perform and to multiply at a much faster rate than it has happened in other countries like China. So clearly what we are seeing right now is PM's push to strengthen the semiconductor industry, because it's not just India that requires it. India can be a leading exporter of these technologies of semiconductors. There are different kind of semiconductors. Many components of these semiconductors are not even visible to naked eye. You have to use equipment like magnifying glass to essentially find out the kind of complicalities and complexities of a semiconductor, especially given the fact that 2.5 up to 2.5 millimeters of semiconductors are being made that have quite a heavy computational capability. So semiconductors are essentially digital diamonds, as Prime Minister said it. He talked about the black gold that he referred to the oil and fossil fuel industry, and in today's world he talked about digital diamonds that are semiconductors. So no country can actually become great as far as technology is concerned without semiconductors, because these are the essentially building blocks of any kind of technology in today's present world. Back to you, Deepika.
Right. Akshay, we can see the Prime Minister interacting with the various delegates, understanding, looking at the chips out there. In fact, yesterday in his speech, Prime Minister said that the smallest made in India chip will drive the biggest change.
Well, absolutely. That's the thing in semiconductor industry. The smaller the chip, the more useful it is. With the smaller the chip, the more equipment that it can be used by that particular chip. Essentially in a way that today we are wearing smartwatches. Today people have the equipments are getting smaller and smaller, more handy. The companies that are manufacturing these kind of cutting edge telephones, mobile phones, smartphones, smartwatches, smart earbuds, and every kind of technology rather, Deepika, is looking at the smallest of the semiconductors to fit them and provide maximum yield and maximum computational power to the device. So it's a race that who can build the smallest of the chips. Now, we have made a lot of progress in the past decade in that area. We are headed towards the right direction. However, the thing that Prime Minister said is absolutely true. The smallest of the chips are the most valued, and the smallest of the chips, if made in India, can drive the biggest of change. India has showed it. Its humanitarian nature during events like COVID, where Prime Minister and the entire country very generously, despite having its own problems and its own battles with COVID, gave out those vaccines to the rest of the world with the program of vaccine mastery that was started to help the global south and other countries that were in need. Similarly, in semiconductor industry, if India makes huge strides, then the entire global south has to gain a lot, not just in terms of expertise, but they can also buy the chips that are made in India, and with all of the efforts that are going on at a relatively cheaper price. So it's just there is a saying that there are years when nothing happens, and there are days when years happen. So it's just one innovation. We are just one innovation away from a massive shift, a massive transformation in our technological hemisphere. So any kind of major breakthrough in semiconductor industry with vis-a-vis the technology that is being used can in fact drive a major change and can in fact transform the entire the digital landscape of India. So, but that can only happen if the government supports the industry, if the industry is supported by the people, if the people are supported by the industry. So it's an entire ecosystem, it's a chain that how the entire country, along with its industries, along with its businesses, entrepreneurs, to its public and political leadership come together to achieve a mission, and that is what seems to be happening in the Semicon 2025.
Yeah, actually, in fact, you said that we are very near massive transformation. If you could tell that which are the new policies or incentives at the event to attract investment where India is showcasing. In fact, what are the key highlights of India's pavilion at display in Semicon 2025?
Well, looking at India, looking at the place where India finds itself as far as the semicon industry is concerned, and then the biggest thing that we have to offer is a huge market. We are a country of we are the largest democracy, largest country rather now in terms of population, and there is a lot of demand that is coming in internally, domestically as well for these semiconductors. So the companies that want to invest in India also want to invest in India, given the fact that if they make the semiconductors here, it becomes easier for them to supply to the Indian market. Second thing, there is a lot of enthusiasm toward tech and gear. You can go to the remotest and the farthest village in India and you will find a smartphone there. So there is a lot of demand that has to be fulfilled, and semiconductors are essential part of these gadgets. So the demand for semiconductors will also rise. Third thing, it's political stability. All of these countries, all of these investors rather, who want to come to the country or want to go to any other nation, invest billions of their dollars, invest all of their cutting-edge technology equipment, they need a couple of things. One is the political stability. How politically stable a nation is, and that also reflects on the kind of investment that comes in, because nobody wants to get that investment taken away just like that. So it's quite essential to see, it's rather important to see that how political stability has been demonstrated by the government, and that's perhaps the reason a lot of industry leaders are just waiting to invest more and more in India to provide the market with the kind of chips that we require. So fourth point also, Deepika, would be manufacturing capability, resources, especially the human resources. We have a lot of skilled labor that can be diverted towards semiconductor manufacturing, resulting in rather cheaper semiconductor chips that can be quite competitive at the world stage. So it's like India's Mangalyaan mission. There are areas where, if with expertise and with a lot of concerted effort and focus, the government as well as the leadership at the entrepreneurial level want to get something achieved, they might as well do it.
Right, Akshay, if you talk about Viksit Bharat, the dream of Viksit Bharat, how critical is this sector for India's dream of becoming, in fact, a $5 trillion Indian economy?
Well, it seems that semiconductors would rather, I would place them in the dream of Viksit Bharat by 2047, or a second largest economy in the world, perhaps. So semiconductor is a long investment. It's a long-term investment. So the results, while they will start coming very soon, but the results will keep on continuing and will keep on amplifying for decades to come from the kind of investment that is happening right now. Because semiconductor is something that will be required by you, that will be needed by you, that will remain there as a important tool as to till the time technology is required by humankind. So there is no technology at this point in time without these chips, without these semiconductors. So to reach any kind of feat when it comes to global economies, you need to have a strong base, strong supply network of these chips, these black diamonds that are essentially the building blocks of modern technology as we know it.
Right. Akshay, in fact, the Prime Minister yesterday said that Bharat is working towards the challenges being faced by the semiconductor industry. So what message, if you talk about the message India is sending to the world by hosting and participating at this grand scale?
Well, the government is clearly sending one message that you are welcome to India. You can come and invest here. The government of India is there to support you. The industry is thriving. There is, your investment is safe. There is political stability. There is not any political chaos. You have a stable government at the center. You have a good relation between the states. And all the states are hungry for more and more investment. So that is also going to be quite a huge attraction for a lot of semiconductor industry leaders So as far as the challenges are concerned, yes, there have been challenges, but with Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself spending hours interacting with not just the big semiconductor units, but also the startups. So that shows the kind of seriousness that India is looking at semiconductors for the growth of the country.
Right. Akshay, also, how will the domestic electronics and automotive industries benefit from this push?
Well, every industry, Deepika. In fact, automobile parts also have semiconductors now. You have these infotainment systems that are there in your car. You have, seatbelt warning systems to honks, to all of the other things. Everything has semiconductors. Everything has chips. And the core of the processing unit of the car nowadays, especially the electronic vehicles, cannot survive without semiconductors. So the kind of push that it is getting, eventually it will pass on. It will trickle down to all the industries that are concerned with the semiconductor, or rather are impacted by the semiconductor industry.
In fact, Prime Minister right now is at the exhibition. We are showing you visuals from Semicon 2025. The Prime Minister is visiting the various exhibitors, and our correspondent Akshay Dongre is with us. In fact, Akshay, yesterday Prime Minister said that Bharat's youth is the most important human capital for semiconductors, and he said the government was working towards giving a new impetus to design-linked incentive scheme, making long-term commitments. And the day, he said, is not far when the whole world will say design in India and made in India, and the whole world will trust India.
Well, the whole world, I would say, trusts India already. We have the capabilities. We have proved our mettle in several other industries. When it comes to semiconductors, it is as essential as any other mission that India has gone on, be it the space mission, be it the other kind of social issues that Prime Minister has taken. Semiconductor is yet of different leagues, but when it comes to importance, it is of immense importance. So the entire country is right now positive, quite optimistic about the kind of investment and the kind of personal enthusiasm as well as curiosity that even the Prime Minister has. Because the leaders that would want to invest in India, especially something as important as semiconductors, that is the driving factor of the 21st century. The Prime Minister's focus is quite clearly a very thing that is creating a lot of enthusiasm among the industry leaders, because they also are seeing that if the Prime Minister is so interested, that means that the entire country is also interested in the semicon industry, and that increases the scope and chances of these industries coming and investing in India, making in India, building, researching and manufacturing India for Indians and the rest of the world as well.
Yeah, Akshay, as the Prime Minister yesterday said, that the way Bharat was moving, it is going to be a major part of the semiconductor market. And with over $18 billion in investment and initiatives like the National Single Window System and Design-Linked Incentive Scheme, India is totally ready in becoming a full-scale semiconductor nation.
Well, absolutely. And it is essential that we become it because, we are already at the quarter of this century. The century will be driven by technology, and to have this kind of a manufacturing base, you also have to see the system should be simpler for the investors, because it's still easier for Indians to make their way through the kind of bureaucratic paperwork that is required to launch something of this magnitude. But for many people, it's not the way it works in their home countries. Simply also because India's population is much larger than any other country in the world. So that comes with its own set of the checks and balances that are required in the Indian system. But the government is serious about this matter, and the single window systems and the reduction in paperwork was highlighted by the Prime Minister, who said that he believes that the semicon market is about $600 billion at the global level, and it is soon going to become, or rather touch $1 trillion mark. So that is going to be massive. However, also equally important would be to ensure that the investors that are coming in India do not go back with a bad experience. You have to create a sort of a trust factor so that the industry brings more industry to the country and not drive it back. So all of these reduction in paperwork is quite essential, and that also enhances India's ease of doing business.
Right. Akshay, you were there at the exhibition. In fact, how optimistic are the global companies and foreign delegations about the semiconductor future with India?
Well, they are quite interested. They are quite excited about it, and that perhaps is the reason why you have hundreds of exhibitors here from about 50 countries who are here for days, and they will be looking at all the opportunities and arenas where the semicon market can in fact do relatively well. The manufacturing base, the research, the production, the export, the import, all of these things have to be figured out. But first of all, the companies, while they have started to invest in India and started to collab with the Indian tech partners, but we are still a long way to go from becoming a full-fledged semiconductor nation. However, that is the goal, and in the next few years, with the kind of enthusiasm that we are seeing, it will be achieved sooner than later.
Right, Akshay, as we know that Semicon India 2025 is seeing participation from over 48 countries, and there are many country-specific pavilions as well. What insights or outcomes are emerging from these discussions in terms of global collaboration, as you were also mentioning earlier?
Can you repeat that question, Lipakshi?
Right, Akshay, I'm saying that Semicon India 2025, in fact, as we know, has participation from over 48 countries, and country-specific pavilions are there, of course. What insights or outcomes are emerging from these discussions in terms of global collaboration, as you were also mentioning, Akshay?
Well, the Semicon India will go on till 4th of September. So the outcomes, will have to wait slightly more for the outcomes, but we can, judge or rather interpret the outcome, presume the outcome by looking at the experience of last year. Then the exhibitors came here, many of them stayed, many of them invested, and that perhaps is the reason why the number has grown than reduced. Because while there are new players in the market, they are also looking at countries that are not saturated as far as the semicon growth is concerned. Because for countries like Singapore or in the Southeast Asia, the saturation is starting to hit. So the raw talent is there is a dearth of talented workforce. There is a dearth of also the human capital, and that is also driving the cost quite high of these magical instruments. I would call it. I would call them because they are quite small. However, the kind of processing power that they have nowadays, it's just astonishing.
Right, Akshay, in fact, Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw yesterday presented India's first indigenously developed Vikram 32-bit chip to the Prime Minister at the inauguration of the Semicon India 2025 conference. Could you tell us more about that?
Well, yes, the Vikram chip was made by DRDO. It is perhaps one of the most bright example of how India is a serious player in semicon industry, and it has the potential to grow leaps and bounds. So there is also a historical connection attached to it. But more than that, in today's sense, it was sort of a memento that was given by the minister to Prime Minister to sort of remind also the world that we possess the capability and we possess the enthusiasm for these semiconductors, and in the near future, India will be a major semicon nation, full stack, not the kind of semicon progress we have been seeing in the last decade, but at least in this decade, what we are seeing is quite a rapid pace as far as establishing contacts and establishing industry of the semiconductors are concerned.
Right, Akshay, in fact, to tell our viewers, we will tell our viewers again that Prime Minister is right now visiting the exhibition of Semicon 2025. Over 350 exhibitors are right there at the exhibition, and Prime Minister is trying to interact with them, understanding the various things and motivating all of them. In fact, also to tell our viewers, Akshay, the Vikram 32 chip, as you also mentioned, is built on a 32-bit architecture, which allows it to process larger amounts of data more efficiently, which yesterday Union Information Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw presented to the Prime Minister. Also, Akshay, calling semiconductors the digital diamonds of the modern era, Prime Minister Modi yesterday said that oil was black gold, but semiconductor chips are digital diamonds.
Well, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, Lipakshi, that the situation when it comes to the tech industry concerned, the semiconductors are really looked at like diamonds. If you look at the kind of modern semiconductors that are there, that are more sought after, they're as so small that you can't really figure out what it is at the first look of it. But they are quite efficient. They are quite powerful when it comes to the processing power, the progress that it has. So they are essentially digital diamonds. Perhaps many of them would cost more than a diamond. So the reason for that is the kind of technology that has gone into it, the kind of efforts that have gone into it, into the manufacturing and research of them. So it's not an easy task. It's quite a complicated industry, quite a complex rather industry, and expertise is required at each and every step. Research and development, along with supply chain network, along with political will, along with several other factors that are connected, are directly connected with the semicon industry, and that's perhaps the reason why they are called the black diamond.
In fact, Akshay, huge investments by the government happening there. In fact, at the conference, also the government announced that it has approved investments worth 1.6 lakh crore rupees across 10 major projects in 6 states. And the construction of the 5 new semiconductor units has already begun.
Well, yes, the production has begun. As far as the industry is concerned, what we have seen today is quite impressive. Tracking between the videos trying to understand their needs as well, understand what does it require for India to become a manufacturing hub for these digital diamonds, and perhaps the entire government machinery will now focus on how and how best they can provide support to the government. When it comes to the government, it means that the kind of service and industry collaboration that is required to take giant leaps as far as the semicon market is concerned, as well as the industry as a whole that is looking at India.
Right. Akshay, there seems to be an audio glitch in your voice right now. We'll try and connect with Akshay in a while. In fact, we are showing you the visuals of Prime Minister attending the Semicon exhibition 2025. The Prime Minister is there trying to interact with all the exhibitors, understanding and motivating them. This is a landmark event for India's push towards becoming global hub in semiconductor manufacturing and innovation, in a sector that is set to define the future of technology and economic growth. In fact, yesterday, while inaugurating the Semicon 2025, Prime Minister himself said that he was very, very keen on technology, and that is what brings him to this, his interest in the exhibition and Semicon 2025. He said that this gathering is a combination of experts and youth, and the message is clear that the world believes in India. In fact, he also said that the world was ready to build a semiconductor future with India. Prime Minister also said that at the point where the world is going through so many problems, that in this era of geopolitical tensions, India has yet achieved 7.8% growth, moving towards becoming the third largest economy. And he said that in the world of semiconductors, oil is black gold, but chips are digital diamonds. In fact, he also said that those small, but the chips have the strength to give impetus to world's growth. And Prime Minister Modi also said that the way Bharat was moving, it is going to be a major part of semiconductor market, as more than $18 billion were being invested in it. And Prime Minister Modi also yesterday said that the government has launched a national single window system, which has been implemented, making it easier to work and offering end-to-end capability, increasing investments, moving towards becoming full-scale semiconductor nation in its journey to Atmanirbhar Bharat in 2047. Prime Minister Modi yesterday also said that though our journey started late, there is no stopping now. And he said that the commercial chips will also start this year, showing India's exponential growth. And right up on your screens, Prime Minister visiting the exhibition, interacting with the exhibitors, motivating them, and understanding the whole exhibition's Prime Minister also said that commercial chips will start this year, showing India's exponential growth. And he said that we are making an ecosystem which will have everything from designing to high-tech device making, all available in India. Prime Minister, in fact, yesterday mentioned categorically that we are moving fast towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said that Bharat is also working towards the challenges being faced by the semiconductor industry. And he specifically also mentioned about the youth of the nation. He said that Bharat's youth is the most important human capital for semiconductors. For any nation, the youth are very, very important, and Prime Minister categorically mentioned it yesterday. He said that the government was working towards giving a new impetus to design-linked incentive scheme, also making long-term commitments. And he said that the day is not far when the whole world will say design in India and made in India. Semicon 2025, in fact, is a global platform that showcases the latest innovation in the semiconductor industry. And this exhibition is particularly significant as India is positioning itself to emerge as a key player in the global chip-making ecosystem. Also, at the moment, with the world facing chip shortages in recent years, India's push in this sector is not just about technology, but also about self-reliance, economic growth, and creating lakhs of jobs as well. In fact, Prime Minister's presence at the exhibition underlines the government's commitment to make India a hub for semiconductor design and manufacturing. And the exhibition brings together top global companies, policymakers, and innovators, all looking at India's potential as a rising semiconductor powerhouse. The three-day conference, witnessing participants from over 48 countries, over 150 speakers, including over 50 global leaders and more than 350 exhibitors. And today is day 2. The initiative focuses on advancing a robust, resilient and sustainable semiconductor ecosystem in India. In fact, Semicon 2025 will also feature sessions on the progress of the Semicon India program, semiconductor fab and advanced packaging projects, infrastructure readiness, smart manufacturing, innovations in R&D and artificial intelligence, investment opportunities as well, state-level policy implementation, among others. In fact, yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi received India's first indigenous semiconductor chip at the inauguration of Semicon India 2025 in New Delhi at Yashobhoomi. And Prime Minister said that the global semiconductor market is projected to cross $1 trillion in the coming years. And with the speed at which India is advancing, the country will secure a significant share of this market. Also, to tell you about the chip which was given to the Prime Minister yesterday by the Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw. It is a chip of the modern era, and the chip Vikram 32, which was handed over to the Prime Minister, and it allows to process larger amounts of data more efficiently. In fact, the Vikram 32 officially is called the Vikram 3201. It is the first fully indigenous 32-bit microprocessor qualified specially for the space missions and is built by the ISRO team, the Indian Space Research Organization Semiconductor Laboratory in Chandigarh, specifically to withstand the extreme conditions of the rocket launches and space environments, giving a major impetus to our space program as well. In fact, we tell you about the origin of the chip, which was given to the Prime Minister yesterday. The Vikram 32 chip was designed by the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center and fabricated at SEL's Mohali, Punjab, and it is the successor to Vikram 1601 chip microprocessor that also was powered by ISRO's launch vehicle since 2009. Although the Vikram 32 has been built primarily for satellites and rockets for our space program, its rugged design makes it suitable for other critical areas as well. And potential applications include the defense system, aerospace technologies, advanced automotive solutions, and high reliability energy systems. In fact, to tell our viewers that the development of Vikram 32 is a major achievement under the India Semiconductor mission launched in 2021 and the design-linked incentive scheme, which the Prime Minister also mentioned yesterday. And it cuts India's dependence on imported microchips and is a big step towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant India. We're getting you visuals from the exhibition at Semicon 2025, which Prime Minister is visiting right now, interacting with the various dignitaries, the delegates, understanding the various chips, motivating the various exhibitors. And Semicon India 2025 conference is a 3-day event that focuses on building a strong and resilient semiconductor ecosystem in the country. In fact, to tell our viewers that the 3-day event will include sessions on chip fabrication, especially consisting of artificial intelligence, advanced packaging, research and development, investment opportunities, and state-level policies. In fact, yesterday at the conference, the government announced that it has approved investments worth 1.6 lakh crore rupees across 10 major projects in 6 states. And the construction of 5 new semiconductor units has already begun. Also, most importantly, the government is supporting more than 23 designed startups under the DLI scheme. The DLI scheme, as we told you, is Design Linked Incentive Scheme, launched in 2021. For the viewers who are joining us right now, we are showing you visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the exhibition at Semicon 2025, the 4th edition. Yesterday, Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the 3-day flagship semiconductor event at Yashobhoomi in Delhi. In fact, the 3-day conference from September 2nd till the 4th will focus on advancing a robust, resilient and sustainable semiconductor ecosystem in India. And it will also feature sessions on the progress of the Semicon India program, semiconductor fab and advanced packaging products and projects, infrastructure readiness, smart manufacturing, innovations in R&D, and artificial intelligence, investment opportunities, state-level policy implementation, which also the Prime Minister mentioned categorically, and other topics as well. The event is also highlighting initiatives under the Design-Linked Incentive Scheme, the growth of the startup ecosystem, international cooperation, collaboration, and the future roadmap for India's semiconductor sector. We may also tell you that over 20,750 attendees are expected to are participating, including more than 2,500 delegates from 48 countries, and there are over 150 speakers, including 50 global leaders. And as far as the exhibition is concerned, there are more than 350 exhibitors exhibiting their country-related semiconductors. There are also dedicated pavilions for workforce development and startups, among others. And Prime Minister yesterday gave a major impetus to the youth of the country also. All right, you were watching visuals from Semicon 2025, where Prime Minister was attending the exhibition of and the 3-day event is being held from 2nd to the 4th of 2025. In fact, over 20,750 attendees are expected to participate in the exhibition, and including more than 2,500 delegates from 48 countries, over 150 speakers, including 50 global leaders. In fact, Semicon conferences organized around the world, across the world, and they aim to maximize the outreach of technological advancements in the semiconductor domain, especially as well as the policies of various countries to strengthen their semiconductor ecosystems.